What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Dreams to Reality podcast. And once again, we have a very, very special guest today. The list of things this man does is literally unreal. You just need to check him out on Instagram to see actually how active he is. Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Will is a speaker, an entrepreneur, even though I don't really like that term, businessman, a father, you name it, you're a very, very busy man. And when I say that, is literally, I feel like last week you was in New York, the week before that you was in like Australia, and today we're in your offices in London.
Yeah,
so firstly, thank you for the invite, for allowing us to do this. How you feeling, man? Coming up to the end of the year?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Thanks for coming down, firstly. I'm excited for the end of the year. It's always a really busy period for us as a business. In the lead up to Black Friday and Christmas. So yeah, we're just rallying up the troops to make sure that we can maximize on that. So yeah, excited for it.
Okay, so for everybody at home, what is your business? What do you do?
Yeah, of course. So I'm the founder of a watch brand called Vitae London. Vitae is Latin for life. So our whole mantra is to be the fashion brand changing lives. So in essence, whenever we sell a watch, we actually help support a child through education across sub-Saharan Africa by either providing them a full set of school uniform or providing them a solar lamp so they don't have to travel for hours at night time in order to read. So, yeah.
Wow, bro, that's unreal. So not only have you got the element of the business side of making money, the side to try and generate income, you've actually got a deeper purpose behind everything you do.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's not just a case of taking the money and shipping out the product. You got a whole nother back end to it.
For sure.
So how do you balance that?
I mean, balancing that is actually not that difficult. So we actually have charity partners on the ground.
Okay, got you.
So, like, one thing I hate is when, I guess, even though I'm from Ghana, so my parents are from Ghana, but I was born and raised here in London.
So your parents are from Ghana?
Yeah.
Was they born in Ghana?
Yeah, they were born there, lived there their whole lives until 2 years before I was born, and then they moved over here.
Okay, so how old are you?
I'm 29.
So you're 29 now, yeah? So you was born and raised here, but obviously a massive connection to home in Ghana.
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that relate to what the work you're doing on the ground?
Yeah, so in essence, as I was saying, we have charity partners on the ground that they fulfill all the work for us. Because one thing I hate is people from the West, include even me being first generation or second generation, is us kind of saying what the needs are on the ground and throwing money out there. I'd rather partner with people on the ground. So that's what we do. And yeah, one of the main reasons I started the business is my dad was the first in my family line to learn to read and write. So he grew up in a village in Ghana, had to beg family members for the basics in order to go to school. But I've just seen how powerful education was in breaking that cycle of poverty in my family. So I just wanted to ensure that with the business I was building, that we empower more people and release more potential. My dad's doing amazing things now, and I just want to see more people across the continent doing the same.
Wow, there's so many I can peel away from there. Let's go back a little bit when you said the problem with the West, and I agree with you. Where is the disconnect? Is it down to a lack of communication? Is it false advertisement, media? Like, where is the disconnect there?
I often feel like sometimes it's just this kind of superiority complex. So there's this feeling that we're superior to those nations, so we can tell them what to do. We can kind of, boss them about, create new systems, just build charities without actually asking them what they need.
Understanding
the need.
The
Exactly.
culture. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So for me, when we started out with Vitae London, I just really wanted to ensure every charity we work with on the ground has leadership representation from people from those local communities. So the two charities we work with, the founders are from the communities that they support and work in. And that's just amazing because it means that they know the needs more than anyone else. And it's not me coming across and saying, do this, do that.
Yeah, it's not you saying across, you need lights.
Exactly.
You need water. It's actually what you actually
What do you need? And then they tell us what they need, and we empower them to do the amazing work they're already doing, as opposed to trying to create a whole new system.
How do you ensure, because when you think of charities and stuff like that, I don't really donate much to charities because I don't know where the money's going.
For sure.
So how do you ensure, like, how do you know that your money's going to the right places I guess you do a lot of research on the ground yourself.
Yeah.
Because the CEOs of head of charities are on massive amounts of money, which, do you know what? It could be validated. I don't know. I don't know too much about it.
Yeah.
But as a business owner, entrepreneur, somebody who's actually trying to do good, how do you follow the correct processes to make sure that, you know, you're not getting scammed?
Yeah. So for me, I've done a lot of due diligence with the charities we've worked with. I visited our charities 6 times since we've launched. I go out there quite regularly to see how the children are doing, look at impact reports, look at progress as well. And also, so with the first charity we worked with, House of Wells, we still work with them as well, but they have a business that literally supports the wages of the staff of that charity. And we only support when it comes to school uniform. So I know 100% of our proceeds are going to school uniform. The other charity I work with in Ghana, the funny thing is, it's only a core team of 3 plus other volunteers, but that core team of 3 get paid for other work that they do, and they don't take a penny from the charity, the money that we send or the products we send. So with them, we actually ship out the solar lamps as opposed to just sending them a load of money.
I got you.
So yeah, we've just done the due diligence because, yeah, it's eating from our profit. So I just need to make sure the impact is being felt by the children on the ground.
So why is that important to you, man? Why not just take more profit? Live in a bigger house, have a nicer car.
You know what's funny?
Take your kid on a nicer, longer holiday.
Yeah.
Why is this important to you?
It's important for me because before starting this business, I was working in the city. I was doing a sales job. I was making really, really good money. But it got to a point where I was just like, money alone just wasn't doing it for me. I had to live and work for a deeper purpose. So that, for me, that was the key thing. And yeah, again, just going back to my dad's story and just the impact education's had on his life, and knowing where I am today and where I would be if he hadn't had education and I hadn't had education, it just shows to me the amount of wasted potential. And across sub-Saharan Africa, it's the only region where poverty has actually increased in the past 25 years. And that coincides with the fact that it has the highest proportion of children outside of primary school education.
Wow.
So I just think there's a direct correlation there. So I'm just trying to be a solution.
So when did you quit your job? How long ago was that?
So I quit my job in December 2015. Vitae officially launched in January 2016.
Okay.
So we've been going 4 years in 2 months' time.
So how was that starting a business? Did you look for investment? Like, there's so many people who especially watch this show who want to start a business. Sometimes I feel like you don't need an investment, you don't need money, but then other times you do. It depends like which kind of process you're trying to go.
Sure.
What did you do? Was it difficult? What was the biggest challenges you faced?
It was a hurdle to begin with. So I was making really good money in my job. I'd saved up a bit of money, not a lot, about $7,000.
Okay.
That my wife and I were going to put towards a house deposit, and I managed to convince her to allow me to quit my well-paid job and invest all our savings into starting it.
When you say well-paid, how much?
So when I was 20, from the age of 23, I was earning about $60K a year.
Got you.
So yeah, it's decent for the age
Of course.
I was. And yeah, so I had to quit that job. Leave all that money to the side.
How was that conversation for your wife? Was it out of the blue? Or was it like you've been like drip feeding her a little bit?
It was definitely drip fed. I think she could see it for a while that I wasn't happy. And we had some conversations, and then I just got to a point where I was like, look, this is the idea I've got. Like, I just don't think that the risk is as big as everyone makes it out to be. Because I just said to her, if everything goes pair up, I'm more than happy to go and work another job. I'll build this money back up.
What's the worst
but
case?
What's the worst that
You're
could
just gonna
actually
go get
happen?
another job.
Yeah, what's the worst that could happen? But then what's the best that could happen is we change thousands of lives, if not millions of lives. We build a massive business. I build a business in an industry which I love. I've always loved watches. So yeah, that was the conversation. And when I was like 19, I ran a business before as well. And she'd seen me win awards. She'd seen me build that. So I think she knew I'd always want to go down this path again. So yeah, it worked out in the end. So
So what was the first process? Then you had this idea.
Yep.
What was next?
So I spent about a year before we launched just doing research, getting samples. There was a point I had about 30 different factories on my WhatsApp, and I would screenshot conversation from one factory.
Stress. But I can imagine, like, I've done, like, back in my business, what failed, like some clothing, everyone does the clothing thing, innit? But, and just talking to manufacturers across seas, and bro, it's not my,
but
it's stressful.
For me, I found it exciting. Okay. I actually found it quite fun. At one point, there was about 30 I had in my WhatsApp. I would screenshot a conversation from one factory and send it to the other and say, look, this is the minimum order quantity they're doing. Can you go lower? Can you match it? So then there would be bartering there, and then I'll do the same thing with the price. So I got the minimum order quantity as low as I could. I got the price as low as I could. And then I just ordered my first batch of watches with the money that I had saved up. And then we just went from there. And before we launched, I was just building up awareness. With the samples I had, I would take pictures, get people excited, so that the day we launched, I think we sold 13 watches on the first day we launched. And it's not a massive amount, but I was just so excited. I was like,
one would have
wow.
Been all right,
yeah, do you know what I mean? I was like, 13 human beings have decided to part ways with their money for an idea that was in my head a few months ago. And I guess that gave me the inspiration to keep going. We didn't raise any finance. We bootstrapped it up until recently, where we had an American investment firm come on board and invest a bit of money. And then a couple of months ago, we actually allowed the general public to be able to invest.
Wow.
So we opened up a round on a platform called Cedars. And within a month, we'd raised over £100,000 from the general public with over 600 investors. So, yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Do you know what? I respect you, and I rate you for just simply that honesty right there, bro. You know when you can ask some people and they're like, and they don't want to talk about the money side of the numbers, but it's a real factor,
for sure.
Especially when I imagine when it comes to the game of watches. Watches, bro, is competitive, as you know.
Yep.
So like I like Fossils, whatever you name it, but then you got the next to high brand, you got the Rolexes, the Breitlings. Who in their right mind would want to go and start a company to compete with some of these people? What are you thinking? Tell me your thoughts behind that. Why do you think, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to make a success of it? Because you are. So what gave you that courage to do it? Because I bet other people are thinking, what is he doing?
I've always had the mindset of why not. When I first launched the business, someone actually said to me, you're selling watches at the same price as Armani. They've been going for years.
Of course you have to.
Why would anyone buy your watches? Like, at that price point, he was like, maybe you should make yours cheaper. And I love those kind of conversations because they get my back up against the wall, make me want to go even harder to prove a point. And I just see it as Armani is someone's surname. Like, that's a human being that walked the planet, had 24 hours just like me. And if they were able to build a business that was able to scale, sell worldwide, like, what stops me if I believe?
Yeah, true.
So that's the mindset I had. That if I put in the right amount of work, if I gave it my all, if I had a product that was better quality than my competitors, if it was reasonably priced, if we were impacting lives, why wouldn't it work? So that's what pushed me to go.
How do you ensure the quality was there though? Like when you say you separated 3, 4, 5 grand, whatever it was for your first ever order.
Yeah.
How was you so confident that was gonna come back?
I guess there's always a risk because you can send the money and then you
don't even get anything back.
Do you know what I mean? There's always a risk, but I think with a lot of the factories that I worked with, I looked at reviews from other companies. Also, I made sure that they were independently audited for safety reasons as well. The last thing I wanted was to be supporting children through education across Africa, but then having children building the watches or having poorly paid workers. So once we whittled it down, we did like all our due diligence around the businesses to make sure that, we...
Just doing that alone, you're going to have the quality, aren't you?
Exactly.
Just doing that alone to make sure...
And on top of it, the mindset I see is, if they mess me about today, it's on them because they're not going to get me purchasing from them in the future. And we've scaled and we've grown so much, so it wouldn't have been in their interest to do so anyway. But I encourage everyone to do your due diligence checks, make sure that the the factories are independently audited as well.
So yeah, back to it, bro. back to the competition side of it. So you got your first kind of batch of watches in.
I love competition, bro.
You sold 13 the first day.
Yeah.
Everything right now sounds beautiful, bro. It sounds nice. Wife, left a job. Everything sounds smooth as anything. Why not start a business? Work is easy. This is easy. But bro, I know it's not that easy. What has been some of your biggest challenges you've faced?
It's the hardest thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding thing at the same time. Like last night, I slept 2 hours. Night before, probably 3 hours. And that's not healthy. I don't encourage anyone to do that. But
you're not pushing, you're not encouraging it. But it's just a part of the process sometimes.
It's just the reality of it. That's where we're at. Like I'm working harder than I've ever worked. Some people say, start a business is gonna make life easier. You're going to work 10 times harder than you've ever worked, and you're probably going to get paid peanuts for the first few years. Like, I was hardly even paying myself. Because all the money we got in, I wanted to make sure that the business was doing well, was surviving. The biggest challenge was that. So the business is almost 4 years old, and my daughter is 2. So 2 years into the business, we have a child as well. So juggling that has been difficult, just ensuring that I have enough time and I dedicate time to my family.
But that's hard, bro. Like you're like traveling everywhere, and for me, I'm obviously exactly the same. I got a stepdaughter who's 6. I've been in her life since she was 18 months old. I got obviously a son now who's coming up to 6 months. I sometimes feel guilty for going to work, especially like sometimes if you got a trip to Australia or you got a trip or I got to go on the road to talk and deliver my sessions. Sometimes there's you can't do anything about that. You're booked in by somebody else. But when my office is 10 minutes away from my home, and I'm like, I got to go in, even though technically I might not have to really go in. Yeah. It's sometimes it's like a guilty, I feel
For
guilty
sure.
sometimes. Do you feel that?
100%, especially when I'm traveling. Even on my most recent trip, I actually flew my wife out for the last few days, just to spend time with her, just to kind of connect.
Where was that?
In New York. So that was in New York.
Doing a big New York, man.
New York's pretty cheap to get to these days, to be honest.
It's true. It's not even that far away.
It's literally like 6 hours. So, I flew her out. So, I'm just trying to be intentional and make time and make space to ensure that I don't leave my family behind. Because I know I'm like, all this hard work I'm doing is for them. But what's the point of working so hard for them if you're never even going to enjoy time with them? So it's just about finding that balance. I wouldn't say I've perfectly got it yet, but
you're still 29.
Yeah,
and it's as long as there's quality over quantity, right? If your time with your daughter and your wife is quality time,
for sure,
then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Sure,
do you know what I mean?
Sure.
But there's no point having quantity and having hours and hours, yet you're on your phone, you're going out 100%. To the pub with your friend. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not...
Yeah,
that's
facts.
not... do you know what I mean?
And I'm sure you can relate. Like, having children to me... I've only got one, but it's been the most...
For now.
It's been the most... for now. It's been the most amazing and focusing thing for me. Like, as in... I don't waste time anymore. I don't.
Bro, how mad is that? It's true.
It's actually so good because it realigns everything for you. Like, I don't have any time to
I remember back in uni days, bro. you have 10 hours to do an assignment. You're going to use the whole 10 hours to do it. Yeah. But now when you've got kids, if you've got half an hour to do something, you fit that 10 hours in 30 minutes and you get it done.
You get it done. I feel like I'm so much more efficient because I want to spend time with my family. It's amazing.
It's mad though. You meet a lot of you guys who want to just go to work to escape their family. I do not want to be one of those people.
100%.
Like for me, that's what my dad was like. You can use work as an excuse and an escapism where really it was easier to go to work than it was to...
For sure. That's why I think it's just important to, 1, be intentional, and 2, just invest into your family. Same way you invest all those hours into your business, you read up on the best ways to be an entrepreneur. You read up, like, the same way you should be investing that into your family, because like a good relationship is not just hey, we fell in love and all things were roses. It's actually a lifelong commitment, and it's a lifelong journey of discovery and understanding yourself better and understanding your partner as well. So yeah, just got to invest time.
It's hard, man, isn't it? Difficult. So a year in, where we at? where are we at with the business? Is
Yeah.
it going well? Is it where you want it to be? Is it ups, downs? Talk to me about that kind of first year of being an entrepreneur.
Why do you hate that word, firstly?
Bro, it's just 'cause it's like, to be fair, I hate the word motivational speaker, even though I call myself one, because when you hear it, people just roll their eyes. It's one of those ones. A life coach.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But what separates, I think, people is the action, and as you said, the intention. The intention is absolutely everything.
Sure.
It's easy to call yourself an entrepreneur. That's why I hate it. It's easy to call yourself a life coach. That's why I hate it. Motivational speaker. That's why I hate it. So it's about, I don't know, man. It's. I think I never used to hate it, but so many people are calling themselves that, but they don't have a business, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
They have 2 business phones, but they don't bring in no income. No, but does that make sense? It's doing what you said you was gonna do. Be a person of your word. If you're a man of action, lady of action, then call yourself an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I guess the first year into our journey was actually super exciting. It was like an exhilarating rush. It was like we got so much awareness. We got featured on CNN in our first year.
In America?
Yeah, America,
How
worldwide.
was
That was on their online platform. The publicist literally reached out to me. So I connected with her on Twitter. She saw the good work we were doing, and she was like, I want to do a write-up on you. So yeah, that was amazing. Like straight off the back of that release from them, we got sales in places like Israel and UAE and all these random countries.
You got to try and work out shipping. You got to work out all of that stuff.
Yeah, we got there in the end. But so the first year I would say was amazing. It was tough. Like I was hardly paying myself, but also in the first years when I first got mentored by Richard Branson.
I was going to ask you about that. So talk to me about that. How did that come along?
Yeah, so there's a fund here in the UK called the Virgin Startup Fund.
Yeah, I've seen.
So I think out of 10,000 people that applied, 1,000 businesses were awarded when I applied. So thankfully I was chosen as one of the 1,000. And then out of the 1,000 businesses, they chose 12 to become Virgin Startup Ambassadors. So that's just us going and speaking at events and just promoting entrepreneurship in the UK. But also it meant that we got to go to Richard Branson's house here in Oxford. It meant we got to meet him and get a group mentoring with him.
Yeah, what was that house like, bro?
It's unfathomable.
Is it even like a house?
It was literally like you're going through the gates and there's just land. And then there's like a big house here, another big house there. And then they took us to like one of his like, it just looked like a barn house. Like, I don't know, but it was
They treated you like a side chick, didn't they?
I don't mind. I'll be a side chick for Richard Branson. Not like that.
I bet that was crazy though.
Yeah, it was insane. So, yeah, that was an amazing experience just to meet him. And then, so after
did you meet him though? Like really, like did you meet him? Like have a conversation?
Yeah.
Or was it just to shake a hand, picture?
So the first ever one, because it was the group mentoring, it was a brief conversation. We all got to have like a bit of one-on-one time with him. But then out of the 12, I was then chosen as one of 2 to get one-on-one mentoring with him, and to also interview him in front of a live audience the year after. So that was amazing. And there's actually a little clip on YouTube where I gift him with a watch, and then he tells me off saying that you should never give away your best assets. He takes his watch off, gives it to me, and gives me a wad of cash. And I'm like,
what, there on the stage?
All on the stage.
How much did he give you?
It was weird. He gave me pretty much the exact amount of the watch. Like our watches were like, at the time, the one I gave him was 180. He gave me £200 that he just had right there. So yeah, that was.
And what watch did he give you?
He gave me, the brand's called Lockman Italy. Okay. I think it's worth like $1,000. It's just sitting in my living room right now, deciding what to do with it. But yeah.
That's crazy, bro. I'm just trying to think. So, did he have Mariah Carey at his house?
Nah,
you ever watch that? The Cribs, wasn't it? Do you ever see that?
I didn't see that. What happened?
Cribs on his islands and like Mariah Carey.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that.
MTV Cribs from back in the day.
I love MTV Cribs. It was the best.
But how was that whole experience, like connecting with Richard Branson? Like,
it was humbling to say the least. It was just one thing for me. It was a real eye opener. Like, I learn more by watching than I do by like reading, or like the best way I learn is by doing and watching. So I was just like analyzing him when I was with him, and the reason he's a genius is because he's always looking for an opportunity. And he's just like any entrepreneur. Like, he's always looking for that gap. But literally the day after the exchange happened on the stage, I was front page on the Virgin website with him. He had released a whole press article about why you should never give away your best assets, etc., etc., etc. So, like, off that one encounter, he'd built all this press off it. So it's like he's so smart and intentional at looking for opportunities. He told me once about a story of, like, when Virgin Airlines started, obviously they were beefing BA. And
I've read one of his first books.
Yeah, and he didn't have the finance of BA. So what he did is he told all the media that he was doing a nationwide billboard campaign. And then he brought them all to one billboard. They all took the pictures, ran it through the whole press. But he'd only bought that one billboard. But he'd made it seem like it was across the whole nation. But all the press wrote about it as if it was across the whole nation. So it got him.
So it kind of was.
It was, yeah. So it got him the publicity. It got him in all of the media. But he didn't even have the money to get it across like that. So, yeah, that's obviously slightly dodgy. But it's just, to me,
it's competition though.
It's business, yeah. So from that, it was just interesting to understand the mind of a billionaire and, like, yeah, what they're looking at, what they're thinking about.
Could you connect with him again now if you wanted to, do you think?
I could. It's trickier than it was before because I'm not as associated with the Virgin startup brand. But yeah, the connections there.
He's going to remember you, like.
For sure, yeah. He wears our watches most days.
Shut up, does he?
Yeah, like, there's so many pictures with him online wearing out. And, like, the other day I was watching Shark Tank on the plane, and he did, like, a special feature on there. He's sitting there, rolls his sleeves up. I see the Vitae watch. I was just like, it was just mind blowing. Do you know what I mean? Because I didn't even know he would be on the show. So, yeah, I know he knows who I am, and
wow.
I know people in his camp that are really close to him. So, yeah, the opportunity may arise again.
But you don't need. You're just growing, and there's going to be a time in the next probably 3, 4, 5 years. You're probably going to reconnect anyway at some point, just naturally.
For sure.
Whether it's at an event, whether it's know. So it's like you just.
And he always comments on my hats when he sees me. So yeah, he'll remember.
It's an impressive hat. To be fair. So the first year was crazy. Yep. Second, third year.
Difficult. It got a bit trickier then. End of second year, my daughter's born. Finances are trickier. Trying to balance that work-life balance.
You employing staff at this point?
So yeah, we had so right now we have 13 in total. At that point, like year 2, we probably only had 3 or 4 people. So, but the workload wasn't much smaller. So we were all just really stretched. Plus me trying to juggle family. So it was difficult to say the least. But I always describe being an entrepreneur as a beautiful struggle. As in, it is a struggle. It is difficult. But at the same time, it's the most beautiful and rewarding thing you can do. Like, I wouldn't trade it for a 9 to 5. Like, and even though sometimes I want to, I would love to be the guy that.
Yeah, we have that. Like, we have that discussion sometimes.
I'd love to be the guy that worked the 9 to 5, came home, watched Netflix, all my bills are paid, job done. But I'm just not geared that way.
Give me a month, bro. I'll be back out of it.
Literally, give me 2 weeks, and I'll be itching. So it's just not me. I wish it was, but it isn't me. So. Yeah, I'm just doing what I think I was made to do.
So, where are you currently at as a business now? What is the main focus? What is the main goal? Like, what are you trying to strive for?
So for us, it's just about expansion. It's about taking what we've done and taking what we've built to the next level, and proving to the world and showing to the world that you don't have to build a business just with profits in mind. You don't have to build a business that just looks to take from people. The watch industry is really known for being an industry where, look, I'm wearing my watch to show the world how affluent I am. So it becomes like a status symbol.
Of course it does.
But with our watches, we wanted to flip that and create a status symbol that says, hey, I'm wearing this watch to show how I can make an impact in this world. I'm wearing a watch to say, don't look at me for how much I can hold for myself. Look at me for how much I can actually impact and change other people's lives. So we wanna be able to take that to the next level, build Vitae into a household name, look at other products we can build into as well.
How do you stay authentic though? Because there's gonna come a point where it's gonna blow up exactly how you want. And one day, bro, you might want to buy yourself a Lambo because you've deserved it. But then, like, how do you maintain that or still being authentic?
I can be authentic in a Lambo. I wouldn't want a Lambo personally, but I think I could be authentic in a Lambo.
I want a Lambo for like a day at least, bro, just to see how like rewarding and crap it is all at the same time. Do you know what I mean? When you've got to go to the speed bump, and then you go over a speed bump and the front bumper falls off, then you got 50 school kids.
Yep.
Taking that.
And the insurance alone is probably more than my mortgage. So, yeah, I don't know if I'd ever want to go down that path, but I don't think those things define me. I don't think if I have a nice car, a nice house, that defines me. I'm still going to stay authentic. But at the core,
if they did define you, you'd probably stay in your 60 grand job maybe. Exactly. And then by the time you're 29, you'll probably already be on 120k by then, or 150k. By the time you're 40, you're probably earning $250,000 a year. You've already got a £1 million house. You could, if that defined you, bro, you would have rested there.
100%, and I would have been good. I would have been nice. But life's bigger than that for me personally. I have to live for a purpose. I have to be making an impact. Otherwise, I just don't have the motivation to get up. I guess it's the same as you. You're traveling the country. You're interviewing
I don't get paid
people
for today. We don't get paid. Like,
and that's what I'm saying. Like, and that's what it is. It's about living for something which is greater than money. And often the fruit of that is money will come in some shape or form. It will. But that shouldn't be your main focus as a human. Like, we're not here.
And it's just about meeting and learning. And yeah, this is just for everyone at home to learn. But also, bro, I learn as well. The conversations I have with my guests before and after, I learn and I take things away. I get to see. I come here, look at your space and think, yo, like they're doing bits. Do you know what I mean? Like this space now, let's be honest, bro, this room's a mess. Do you know what that tells me? That tells me that you're so focused on the actual business of what you're doing than actually trying to front and make everything look pretty for the sake of making things look pretty. And why I'm so adamant on that is because I've been doing this for 7 years as far as speaking. The first 3-4 years was so fake. I was too busy making it look like I was successful, but I wasn't. And now I feel like we're at a point where we're actually starting to build momentum now because we've actually we've had intention.
Yeah, and it's, to me, like, the first thing you need to do is just understand what metrics are going to push your business. And that should be your whole focus. For us, like, email acquisition, lead acquisition, if we do that right, it turns into sales. So before, where I didn't have a focus on what I needed to be doing day in, day out, like in the first year of the business, there'll be some days like you'll come into the office and I'm literally playing FIFA with one of my mates. Like, I didn't understand the full concept around what I needed to be doing day in, day out. You just
wanted to look like that entrepreneur, bro.
I wanted to say, hey, look at my office. Hey, look what we're doing. But
I think you said that actually. For people at home who don't know, me and Will actually connected at Be Inspired event. I'm not too sure how far it was from here.
It wasn't too far, literally 20 minutes down the road.
Yeah. So, and I spoke on stage. Man was the keynote speaker in that. Come on. And then
and he smashed it.
Was you there?
Yeah,
did you see it?
Yeah, I saw that.
What, the whole thing?
Yeah, I was there, bro.
Was you?
Yeah, I was there.
How did I do?
Yeah, you did good, man.
Oh, I got that.
Your energy's infectious, man. I loved it.
I appreciate that, man. I didn't actually know you watched the talk, because obviously after I came off, and then obviously I got changed a little bit, and then come back, and then obviously that's when I seen you on stage, and actually you and Champ Barbers, who we interviewed as well, was actually a couple standout people to me. And I was fascinated, especially because you said about the Richard Branson thing, and also fascinated at the fact you went into the watch market, and I'm thinking, yo, that's competitive. How, like, what's that separates you from everyone else? Because
I love competition though.
But it's not a bad thing, bro.
Yeah,
that's why
it shows to me that there's a market, there's something to go at. If there's no one doing it, you could be the first one to do it. You could make something really big. I'm not denying that. But if there's something that a load of people want to get in on, I'm happy to say, yeah, let's go to war. Let's compete. Let's see what we can do. I enjoy it, man.
So how do you keep that same energy, though?
It's about keeping your end goal in mind for the day-to-day. I think it's so easy to have a vision, But then, as I said, in terms of those metrics, if you don't know what metrics are going to push the final needle, then you don't know what to do day in, day out. Whereas because I'm starting to better understand that, I know every single day it's a success if I've hit certain numbers.
Got you.
Whereas before I didn't know what those numbers were. I didn't really understand that. And that's
what
cool.
are those numbers though? Are they obviously, I guess, revenue? What things do you measure the success of your company?
So for me, I know that on the day-to-day, on the micro level, is that if I acquire a certain amount of email addresses today, they usually convert at a certain amount, a certain percentage.
Like email addresses.
Yeah, that's one of our key day-to-day metrics.
That's interesting though, because why is that? So I kind of know actually still the value of email, but why are you so heavily invested into email when everybody says email's dead?
Because it's not dead, because I've seen the fruit of it, because it's direct access to a consumer. If I post something on Instagram today, I've got like over 10,000 followers, but maybe I'll get a few hundred likes, 1,000 likes, maybe a few of them, like, not all of them will view it. If I send an email to 10,000 people, even if they don't open it, I'm like 99% certain that they've already seen at least the subject heading, the title. They know if we've tried to engage with them. So to me, that's just the power of acquiring and owning data, because on social media platforms, you don't own that data.
Thank you.
Like
I was going to say that.
Yeah,
you own the email list.
Instagram owns that data. Facebook owns that data. Twitter does. You don't actually own that data. So the key thing for me is, like, for me, at first, I just wanted as many followers on Instagram as possible.
Of course.
But it began to become a vanity metric. Because if I've got all those followers and I'm not selling many units, then who cares? What does that mean? But then when I realized the power of acquiring the data and holding it for myself, and being able to contact them directly without any middlemen, like, that was a game changer for my business.
Bro, do you know how real that is? I'm not going to lie, I didn't even expect you to come out with some of the stuff you come out with today. No, but does that make sense? Because I thought just like, look, like, it's all right getting 300 likes on a picture, but then what does that really mean? And that's such a reality check I had probably about 12 months ago. I was so trying to...
I think it probably hit me around the same time.
Bro, it was like I was so up to thinking I want to look successful for my family, for whatever, but my bank account was dead.
Oh, bro.
So then, like, we had to have a shift, like, where is the money at? Where is the business at? Because right now, if I carry on following this process, I'm going to be working at that petrol station in 2 years from now. Because there's going to come a point where where wife is going to be like, where's the money at? Where is this what you promised? Where's that you promised? And to be fair, she should ask that. But sometimes I need to stay, have non-negotiables and work my ass off. For sure. Work smart and really focus on the numbers, what matter.
For sure. And that's the same as me. Like, that's my focus. My focus is on the metrics that are going to bring in more money so that we can impact more lives, so that my team is looked after, I'm looked after. That's what we focus on.
Because
more
the
than
thing
anything.
is, like, bro, there's probably, I don't know if it's a similar for you or whether it's a quantity game, or I'm not too sure how it works, but for... Obviously, you see it even on my Instagram now, we say 100,000 students a year. I'm probably going to have to change that, because now my whole goals changed. I'm not just trying to reach out people on a quantity level, it's a quality level.
Facts.
So, for example, I'm not looking for 50 to 100 schools as a customer, which is, it could go any way, bro. I might get not get a phone call, or I need a lot of business. But now I actually focus on smaller numbers, charge a lot more, but work with the kids a lot more on a
better quality.
Does that make sense?
It's about refining, man. It's about learning, pivoting. Like, so many people, they want to start a business and they want it perfect from day one, but you're never going to get that. Like, for me, I've just found that just rolling my sleeves up, getting dirty, understanding, going 6 months in and thinking, actually, what I've done for the past 6 months was stupid. It hasn't actually benefited the business as much as it should. Let me adjust, let me pivot, let me change that. Like, being willing and open to know where you may have fallen short, to me, is like one of the greatest strengths you can have, because you can constantly improve, you can constantly take it to the next level. You're never going to start things off perfect. You're gonna perfect it as time goes on.
Have you made it?
Nowhere near. No, not even. I haven't even touched the surface of what we're gonna do. Like, we're just getting started.
Damn. So this is called a dreams to reality. What's the dream? And then what's the reality of the situation, bro?
Crazy. So the dream
you
is...
like that question, yeah?
I love it.
I'm gonna pretend it's mine, yeah. But who made that question up? Was that you? I'm gonna pretend that's my question, isn't it?
I love it.
Cut that bit out. I made that up.
So for me, I guess...
What is the dream?
The dream is to... The personal dream is for my family, for my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, to have a legacy to live from. That's my personal dream. The business dream is to impact as many lives across sub-Saharan Africa as humanly possible. That is the dream from the business perspective. So yeah, those are the dreams. And have I created a legacy that will impact my great-grandchildren yet? I probably would say no. Have I impacted as many lives as I could across sub-Saharan Africa? I'd probably say no. But with both of those things, I'm on the journey towards achieving them. So that's why I would say I haven't made it, but we've made steps, we've created systems, formulas that will ensure we do make it. So, yeah. Right,
so playing devil's advocate a minute. I go to a lot of different places. I'd spoken about it before, but my kind of friend group I was raised in, I was the only white kid in the friend group. But then also, obviously, all my family is white. I've been around racism, even in my own family, of pure ignorance, to the point where I've fallen out with family members, right? Going into some racist schools, you hear different things. You can imagine, can't you? So when there's going to be some white person or some British person thinking, why is he doing all that work for Africa? What about... No, when they say, charity starts at home or something like that. Yeah. What is your answer to that? Why is it so important to make a difference to Africa? Not only because it's your roots, but why is that important? And what would your response be? I'm looking forward to this one.
So that's a brilliant question. So to give you a bit,
go on.
No one needs to be slew. But to give you like context on my like upbringing. So I grew up in the hood in South London. I grew up across Peckham and Camberwell, like really rough growing up. Gentrified, getting gentrified now, but when I was growing up, it was rough. And at the age of 11, I got a scholarship into a boarding school. So I actually ended up moving to Stourbridge in the Midlands. Like a place no one's ever
So when
heard
you was
of.
11, you got a scholarship
to a boarding school. So I was one of a few black kids in the school full of predominantly white children.
How was that, bro?
So that's when my eyes opened to the reality of this world, because I didn't even know that there were like different levels. Like I'm sure you can relate from like where you grow up in a certain area.
It's not even a race thing. It's a culture thing.
It's a culture thing.
Because everyone. It don't matter what color your skin is. Everybody's all the same. Broke. Everybody's living rough. So it's not even about who's black, white, who's from this place. Everybody's in the same living conditions.
That's all I knew. And then I went to this boarding school, and one thing a story I always tell that always comes to mind is, I think I was 13 at the time. We went to play a local school in a game of rugby.
Bro, don't.
And unfortunately, we lost the game. At the end of the game, someone from my school referred to the other school as council estate scum, not realizing I'd grown up on a council estate my whole life, and I'd only got in because of a scholarship and bursaries. So yeah, that's when my eye opened to like, wait a minute, like these people honestly think they're superior to others. Like sometimes people are still confused that I grew up on a council estate, but I'm just like,
because you're elevated, bro.
But it's not even that. It doesn't mean because you grew up there that you weren't elevated. Do you know what I mean? It's just, that's the circumstances I grew up in, but there's still geniuses in the council estate. There's still phenomenal sports people. There's, you name it, the talent is there. So yes, for me, that was the first kind of eye-opener for me. And I've always been determined to kind of even out the playing field from then. And then, yeah, secondly, I guess, if they do say charity begins at home, home for me is Africa. I guess, do you know what I mean? Like, I get... Obviously, like, I love that I've grown up here. I've benefited so much from growing up in an amazing system here in Britain. And I'll never, like, take that for granted. But at the same time, like, I can't help the fact that my DNA, everything a part of me is from that continent. And that's
your family have brought you over here to provide you with probably opportunities they never had. And what it is going to do is going to help the whole community. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you either got a choice, you either run with it or you take it for granted. You're running with it. And so that means because you're running with it, you've got opportunities. People back home for you cousins,
Facts.
friends,
Yeah.
you name it. They don't have the same opportunity as you.
Yeah. And what I love about the business is, like, one of my cousins in Ghana is employed by Vitae now. He's doing like some back end marketing work for us. Like,
Wow.
I'm just so determined to create opportunities back home, because unfortunately, due to colonization, due to mismanagement from leadership in Africa, the continent, although it's rich with resources, a lot of the resources are stripped. The people on the ground don't get to benefit from the infrastructure we get over here. So I'm just doing all I can
Let me ask you a
to.
question, right? I've never been to Africa
redistribute.
in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know a huge amount about Africa.
Mm.
I've done a lot of research on South Africa, especially because I was very interested in the apartheid and stuff like that. Is Africa as poor as they promote on TV?
Not at all. But the wealth distribution is poor. So in terms of, it's extremity in Africa. So you'll go down the road, and you'll see a massive house and mansion, 10 bedrooms, swimming pool, everything. Like, the quality of living, if you're doing well, this country doesn't even compare. But then you'll go down another road and you'll see like a shanty town, you'll see like broken down houses, because they don't have the foundation and infrastructure that we have, say, over here. Like, if you're failing here, there's job seekers allowance, there's council houses, there's infrastructure,
there's the NHS.
NHS. These things help and support so that everyone is on at least a basic foundational level. There's this thing called the Maslow hierarchy of needs, and what I love about the UK is that it helps to fulfill those very basic needs so that people can thrive, so that people can go to the next level. But unfortunately, across
that also
Africa,
breeds
sometimes laziness,
being comfortable and stuff like that.
Yeah, but we won't dwell on that. But the good fruit of it is that if it wasn't for the infrastructure here, I would not be the man I am today. But then the infrastructure isn't there across Africa. So I guess it's about private companies and people with the heart for it doing all they can to create those infrastructures to help support people on the continent, so that
so it's not what you see on TV.
There are elements of that, but like, imagine
when you see that on TV, how does that make you feel?
There's nothing that pisses me off more.
Really?
Because all they highlight is these flies around children, swollen stomachs, and the thing is, there's poverty here in the UK. And imagine if every single time you turned on the TV to hear about the UK, that was the only picture they painted. So the issue isn't the fact that they're painting the picture. The issue is that it's the only picture they paint. So it's the only perception we have of a continent. And to me, it's unfair. It's unjust. That's why I have issues with it more than anything. So if you see even the work we do, we never show children down and out. The children we support is always with joy. We show them being presented with the solar lamps and the school uniform, but we don't show them the poverty, because to me that's trying to benefit off someone's poverty and trying to use that to twist people's emotions. I'd rather just highlight the joy and the fruit of people buying our watches. So yeah, that's
crazy. So I know you're quite tight for time. You've spoken about the dream. We went off on a bit of a tangent then. So what's the reality of the situation, man? How hard is it right now?
So the reality of the situation is we distributed over 2,000 items of uniform and solar lamps to children in need. Thank you. We've sold in over 30 countries. We have over 600 shareholders now part of the company. So the reality is we are en route to the dream, but we're not there yet. So
are you in retail?
So we are in a few boutique stores here in London. So one called Not Just Another Store, one called Love Brand in Kensington and Chelsea. We're in a store in South Africa, in New York as well, and soon to be in Ghana. We're increasing our retail footprint slowly. But for me, the real focus is digital. That's where I specialize. That's what I love the most.
Because I guess you could quite easily sell out and try and get in as many stores as you can.
Yeah.
But then I guess your product becomes a bit like...
It loses its allure a bit if you can get it everywhere and anywhere. But yeah, we are building to a point where we are going to be more of a mass brand, but then we'll still...
But you have to be, but as long as you keep the same core values down, it don't matter. You have to grow, but you got to make sure you grow at a rate which is not just comfortable for you. That kind of sounds Like, because you are competitive, you are pushing forward, but you don't want to lose the main reason why you started this brand.
No doubt.
And when you're employing staff and things, you want to make sure they got the same vision and the same motivation as you. Have you been through obviously I don't want to hear, have you been through quite a few staff, finding the right people, or not too bad?
So we've had interns that have left at the end of their internships, but I've never really had to fire anyone. Like, I've been fortunate in that a lot of my staff now are people that, when we had literally no money, they would volunteer, they would help out, they would chip in. I'd seen the talent in them already. So when the money did come and we could employ them, it was just a natural shift as opposed to me trying to go out and recruit. So
got that.
Yeah, our whole team has been people that I've already seen on my radar already, that I thought could have fit well within the business.
Any advice on sacking somebody tonight?
Oh wow, ooks.
I
have no advice.
So
I'm useless.
I ask every guest this, right? If you could sit down with any three people, dead or alive, famous, you name it, whatever, what three people would it be?
That's a great question. One would be my granddad on my mum's side. It was weird, like he came to the UK when I was 10 years old. I asked my mum, hey, could I come to see him? But I think he was unwell. So my mum's like, oh, no, you can see him another time when he's better. Unfortunately, he passed away. So my granddad was an entrepreneur on my mum's side. So there was more wealth on my mum's side than my dad's side. Yeah, from Ghana. But he owned properties here. He had 25 children. He had 7 wives. Like,
that's a man I want to meet.
Cut that out in case his wife watches this. He built a real empire. And I did it. And I did it. I didn't know the scale of it until I went to Ghana on my most recent trip, and I met with a cousin who lived out there.
Wow.
And he showed me properties he owned, like one of the properties that the American High Commission now owns in Ghana. My granddad sold to them, and that's where they do a lot of their activity. So, and I didn't know that. And his whole, as an entrepreneur, what he used to do was buy and sell. He would buy things whenever there was scarcity in Ghana. He'd go to other neighboring countries. He'd buy from there and sell to meet the need. So, even though I'd never really met him,
his child support must be mad. 7 wives.
Like, yeah, I definitely so I have over 100 cousins. My mum has obviously 24 siblings. So yeah,
that's crazy.
Child support was wild, but like obviously hearing about his story and not getting to meet him, I would have loved to have met him and just understand his mindset, why he was the way he is, because I think that DNA is passed on to me, like. And that's without me even seeking it out. So yeah, that I'm very, very, very intrigued by that. So yeah, my granddad on my mum's side would definitely be one. Another person would probably be when I was 13, my aunt passed away, and she was like a second mum to me. She really looked after me. She helped me get into that boarding school. She bought most of my resources when when going to that school. Wow. She was literally like my second mum. Unfortunately, she passed away to cancer. And I'd just love to see her again, just to say thanks.
How was that at that particular moment, bro?
One of the hardest things, again, away on a game of rugby. I was out there, and it was fortunate. Another friend of mine knew of her from growing up as well. So we were just in hysterics on the way home. It was a mad season. So I would love to just see her one more time, just to say thank you, because like her love and investment into me at a young age, like I don't know why, but she just believed in me from a really, really young age. So yeah, I'd love to see her and thank her. And another person, dead or alive, I would say P. Diddy, because I want to get him on my board of directors. So yeah, that would be my third one. So yeah, that would be it.
Why P. Diddy? Why not Jay-Z? Why not 50?
I love Diddy's expansion into different product lines. I love what he did with Ciroc. I think if he were to like do even the smallest bit of work with Vitae, like our expansion into America would be ridiculous. So yeah, someone like Diddy would be awesome.
I've got you, man. Who shot Ghost?
Pardon?
Who do you reckon shot Ghost, bro?
I don't know. I think he faked his death though. I don't think he's dead.
He thinks it's hallucination, yeah.
I think it
because
could be hallucination the whole day.
What did you say, 3 times?
The whole day. But when he was hallucinating, it was weird because I feel like the whole
Actually,
theme.
like Dave's probably like, what are you on about?
I feel like the whole theme of that episode was ghosts, because he was.
You can't fucking stop me.
He was.
You can't stop me.
And okay, so my theory is, this is my theory.
I asked you the question. He's like, pardon?
So
you just asked me that.
This is my theory. My theory is that he faked his death because Jamie was getting too famous with this whole governor thing, etc., etc. There was heat coming on Tariq, everything. So if you watch that episode, he was moving wild. I've never seen him so rude to Tommy, rude to everyone. Like, it's like even with Councilman Tate, it was as if he wanted people to come for him. It was weird. And the way he even locked up and stayed behind, it's like he was setting himself up. So my theory is that he somehow faked his death so that all the cases would be dropped, and he's just going to come back as Ghost instead of Jamie. So I think this is the death of Jamie, but Ghost is going to be some underground guy who's still alive doing some wild things. That's my theory.
There you go. Who shot Ghost?
Remember I said it.
Anyway, bro, I just want to say a massive thank you, man. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me.
I do appreciate it. We will put all your links, your Instagram and stuff
Appreciate
like
it, bro.
that under this video. But yeah, once again, as I said, hopefully we can connect and work together some moments in the future. And if obviously there's anything I can do, just reach out.
And thanks for coming through. And also, I've created a discount code for everyone who's listening to this. So first 10 people to use the code Dreams to Reality 30 will get 30% off a Vitae watch.
There you go.
Just as a thank you for having me.
There
So thank you.
And do you know what? Actually, we're giving out some prizes and stuff to some of the people who follow my programs throughout the year.
Awesome.
So maybe if we can have some of that discount, I'll cop some watches, and then we can give. I think that would be good, wouldn't it? For some of the kids are really working hard, man, really turning things around. So maybe we do something along those lines as well.
No doubt, bro.
Perfect. You heard it there. Who shot Ghost? That's the
Ghost shot himself.
He shot himself. Anyway, guys, there you have it. That's another episode of the Dreams to Reality podcast. Remember, you can either have excuses or you can have results, but you cannot have both. I'm out. Peace.